All right, guys. So today, what we're going to start is the metric system, and over the next week, we're going to be doing metric systems from here on out. And the important thing about the metric system is that we've got to wash your brain of everything you've been taught prior to this class about what systems of measurements mean. So, if I ask you something as simple as how many inches are in a foot, you know that there are 12. If I ask you how many feet are in a yard, you know that there are 3. If I ask you how many feet are in a mile, all right, so you see there's some ebb and flow there. So 5,280. So here's the deal with the metric system, is that the only way you knew those numbers is how. You memorization. That's really the only way you do it. So the metric system, once you memorize the prefixes, if you will, once you memorize how everything is set up in order, being able to convert within the metric system is 10 times easier, because all you have to do is first of all know how far you are away from what you want to be at and move the decimal. Okay, or you can multiply or divide by something by 10. So once we get into the metric system, you're going to see how much simpler it really is versus having to measure things in odd numerical numbers. All right, so the metric system. Lesson started. So here's my question. Please do not yell this out loud. Wait for me to prompt you to tell you what I want you to do. So here's the question. Would you be breaking the speed limit in a 40 mile per hour zone? So the speed limit sign says 40 miles per hour. If you are traveling at 60 kilometers per hour. So that's the question. If you leave today and you get out on Westgate and it's 40 miles an hour, if you're traveling 60 kilometers per hour and it says it on your dashboard, would a cop pull you over, yes or no? So hang on. So thumbs up if you say yes, thumbs down if you say no. I know you probably don't know. This is a guessing game. I'm just curious what you think. Okay. This is not it. Okay. All right, good. If you said that you are not, then you are correct. Okay. So you would be traveling 37.2 miles per hour. So hopefully you would not get a ticket. So here's the issue. Looking at the numerical data only, just the numbers, would you be speeding? 40 mile an hour zone, you're going 60. The number only. 60 is greater than 40. However, what important thing did we put on it to make you no longer speeding? The unit. So if you're ever doing anything in science, especially in chemistry, what must always be at the end of this stuff? Unit, because you can write 37.2 and I have no clue what you mean. That means a bajillion different things. But when you put the unit on it, that tells me what you're referring to. So units are the most important part of all of science. So you will not be speeding. Kilometers per hour and miles per hour measure the same quantity using different units. So units of measurement. This is where your notes fill in. Now, just to kind of give you a heads up, we will very rarely take notes like this. You will not have fill in the blank notes. The reason why, because it takes forever for us to get through some of the stuff we got to do if I gave it to you this way. So we'll talk about later how we're going to do notes in the future. But this is the first one. It just kind of gives you a good idea. And this really kind of is your study guide. This is your notes, if you will. And we'll be adding stuff to it. If you're one of those that you don't like cramming stuff into small spaces, you may want a sheet of paper. But if you don't mind writing stuff in the margins or wherever you can fit it in, then you're going to be fine. Because there are a few things that we're going to add to this as we go, and I think it's important that we have the space to be able to do it. So measurements represent quantities. Now, what are quantities? Numbers. Okay? So if you go measure a volume, what must you come back with? That's so much volume. You got to have a number, right? Because if you don't tell me how much, if you told me the store and go buy some soda, how much? Well, do you have to give me an amount? Yes. Okay, you got to give me some sort of number because of reference. So if I come back with a little 12-ounce bottle, you may be very upset with me if you wanted 3 ounce or 3 liters. Okay, so a number has to be a part of it. A quantity is something that has a magnitude, a size, or an amount. You should already know that basic definition. Now, I do know that this is not on your sheet. Please write it in somewhere up there. You can actually write it out beside, up there at the top somewhere. Okay. So, a measurement. And what does that little equal sign with a slash through it mean? It's not equal to. So a measurement and units are not the exact same thing. So here's the deal. We can talk about a teaspoon is a unit of measurement. Now, here's the deal with this thing right here. Change this. A teaspoon. Is that a metric unit or an American unit? American unit. If I went to each one of your houses and opened up your silverware drawer, what are the chances that all of our spoons are all the exact same size? I'd say a very low chance that all of our spoons are all the exact same size. So my question to you is, which one is the teaspoon? Okay, the smaller one. Well, what if all of our smaller spoons are all different sizes? Then how do we know which one's the teaspoon? Okay. Now, are there specific things you can go to the store and buy teaspoons with? Yes. But what do we look for that thing? No, we just grab the first thing we see in a spoon. We just start dumping stuff in. So measurement tools are sometimes very difficult and precise because, let's face it, some of your small spoons are bigger than some of my big spoons. And so it just depends on which one ever you grab. Now, what's another American unit that they use in cooking? A tablespoon. Well, I mean, what the heck's the difference between a teaspoon and a tablespoon? Really? I mean, I like the logical explanation there, but like, why would they have ever chosen those two pieces of terminology to explain? Because teaspoon and tablespoon, it's just like I said, some spoons are all different sizes, so it's not a good way to do it. Now, but a teaspoon, is it a unit of measurement? Yes, it's what you can tell me, because if I said I need 3 teaspoons, you know exactly what tool to use and how much it's going to be. Now, a volume is a quantity. Now, did y'all have to write that down? A volume is a quantity, which I need you to put, which equals measurement. Okay? It's a type of measurement. What are some other types of measurements, like volume? No. Mass, density, weight, speed, mass. We'll go with gravity. You can measure gravity. Height, distance, right? All those things. What about temperature and time? Okay, don't ever forget about those. We're going to add another one to your knowledge in a second. So the choice of unit depends upon the quantity being measured. So now, if I ask you to measure the distance between here and Montgomery, first of all, in science class, would you even use inches? No, and that's the part that so many students struggle with, is we have to completely wash ourselves of the concept of a unit, a foot, a mile, an inch, yards, all those things. We got to get into the metric system. So what is the corresponding, almost kind of like it, inch in the metric system? The centimeter, right? If I asked you to measure between here and Montgomery in centimeters, would that be logical? No, what would you use? Kilometers, fantastic. So that is another way we would also want to do it. Okay? Like if I were going to ask you to measure an amount of water in a swimming pool, would you use milliliters? No, that makes absolutely no sense. Okay? Would you even really want to use liters? No, that makes sense. So kiloliters may be one of your better options, because I would say it would at least take 1,000 liters to fill up a swimming pool. Okay? All right. So, next part. Now, we did watch that video a while back about where the SI units came from, right? The metric system, the French Revolution, and all that stuff that we watched that. Did we get all? All right. Well, let's pause that then.